Hello and welcome. So, you are probably here because you are tired of going out, shooting landscape photos, and just getting awful light. Clear skies, totally cloudy skies. It seems like it's so hard to predict the right kind of light and get exactly what you want. And lucky for you, I am going to help you out with everything that you need in terms of predicting weather. I'm going to be talking to you guys through apps. I'm going to be talking you through websites. I'm just going to be talking you through general weather tips that I'm always thinking about in order to get the best light. And there's going to be great tips in here to figure out clear skies. Maybe you want cloudy skies for sunset or sunrise. Maybe you want to track a storm. I'm going to be talking through it all. So let's go ahead and get started. So generally speaking, when I'm at home, the first thing that I'm going to do to figure out if the area that I want to go has some maybe good clouds for sunset or sunrise is I'm just going to do a simple Google search. So for example, I'm going to use the Columbia River Gorge weather. You can see I've already searched it here. So I'm just going to Google search Columbia River Gorge weather. You can see we've got this nice little box that pops up here from weather.com, and they've kind of integrated it within Google. So it's a super nice tool to use. This isn't going to get me that far on figuring out if there's going to be great light, but what it will do is tell me if there's going to be clouds or not. Obviously, as you can see, Monday through Friday, there's no clouds, and so if I wanted a great sunset, I'd stop my research right here. I wouldn't do any more advanced research because I can see that it's just not supposed to be cloudy. However, though, you can see that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, there's potentially some clouds and some showers. So the nice thing about this tool here on Google is that you can actually just click through and it'll go in 3-hour intervals here. You can see I'm at 7 a.m., 10 a.m., 1 p.m. And I'm just looking at partly cloudy, mostly cloudy. And what I'm looking for here is the best conditions are usually going to present themselves at sunset when the clouds are going away, or at sunrise when the clouds are coming in. So for example here, you can see that potentially Saturday could be a good night because I know that sunset is about 7:30 or 8-ish, so right after 7 here. We've got partly cloudy at 7, going to clear with periodic clouds at 10. So those clouds are going away. So this is kind of a interesting time and something that I would research more on some of the tools that I'm going to show you later. But this is kind of just a really basic tool that I always start with. Now, the next tool is called Dark Sky. And so Dark Sky also has an app that I'm going to show you guys in a second here. But first, I want to show you their online computer kind of interface. So basically, you're just going to go to darksky.net and make sure it's .net and not .com, darksky.net. And then this will pop up. I think by default, it always pops up as a forecast in New York, but we can actually go ahead and change this. Let's go to Columbia River Gorge, United States. And you can see it gives us a really detailed forecast. For example, it tells me that light rain is starting in 8 minutes and stopping 45 minutes later. It's kind of got a graph here of how heavy the rain is going to be. That can be super helpful if you're headed out on a shoot and you need to know if you're going to get wet. Maybe you need your rain jacket. Maybe it's going to rain too much and you don't even want to go out and shoot. So that's really helpful there. But the tool that I really like here is actually, you can scroll down here and click this drop down box and you have all of these options. You can look at the wind speed, the cloud cover, temperature. All of these are somewhat helpful, but in my mind, the most helpful one is the cloud cover. So you can see it gives us percentages, and we're looking at the 25th at 6 p.m. Now, if you remember my Google search, I wanted to look at Saturday evening for sunset. So let's go down to 7 p.m. And you can do 1-hour intervals here. And the nice thing is it actually allows you to kind of select exactly what time you want. And you can see how the clouds are moving in and out. So let's say, for example, the Columbia River Gorge is over here. Let's say the composition that we wanted to shoot was something around Cascade Locks. I can just double click to zoom in here. And you can see that Cascade Locks is about at 70%, going down to 63 at 8 p.m., which is about sunset, staying at 64, 66, 69, 70. And you can see that it stays around 70% pretty much all night there. And so that could be good. 70% is usually pretty good. Another thing that I'm always looking for is, I'll zoom back out here and remember Cascade Locks here. So we're going to be shooting sunset in this example, and the sun is setting to the west. So the sun is setting over here. So we like to have kind of a gap in the clouds so that the sunset can, or the sun can shoot up through those clouds and create some light for us. And so this kind of would be our cloud gap over here potentially. So that could come up and potentially give us some light there. So that's another thing that I'm liking. Now, another tool that I really like using within this dark sky is just by going to the maps. You can see it just gives us a big map of the United States, and I can double click to zoom in. Now, if you had like a week to take off and you wanted to go get some great photos, what I recommend doing is going to up here to the drop down box, going to cloud cover. You can see it's going to give me cloud cover for all over the United States. And this is September 25th at 6 p.m. But let's say my road trip started on Monday. Let's look at 7 a.m. in case I want to get out for sunrise. So I can see, all right, well, the Pacific Northwest looks like it's going to be pretty clear. Maybe we'd have some clouds here in the Idaho, Utah area. And you can just keep clicking 3 hours and kind of see what it's going to do. Now, one of my favorite features about this is that it predicts way in advance. And it's obviously not as accurate when it predicts as far in advance. But I could go, let's say, a week from today, next Friday, and look at what the weather is going to be like for sunset. And so I can see it's going to be pretty much clear everywhere. But this is maybe something I'd go back in time, look at sunrise. I could go back and look at the previous day's sunset. So you can see it's a super helpful tool for just flipping back and forth and figuring out exactly where you want to go to kind of get those great conditions. So when you're in the field, you don't always have a computer to use. So a lot of times I'll like using my phone with apps. And there's a lot of apps that are very helpful in weather predicting as well. I just showed you guys darksky.net online. Now I'm going to show you guys Dark Sky, the app. So when you open the Dark Sky app, which is free, you can actually see weather for like your current location. But you could change the location. Let's say we wanted to go Portland, Oregon. See what the weather in Portland, Oregon is going to be like. And I can scroll down, and this is giving me right now, it's going to be overcast, but you can see it's going to light rain, mostly cloudy, light rain, changes a bunch. So for landscape photography, like I said, I like going and scrolling over to cloud cover, and we can look at the cloud cover here. And again, this will predict out a week in advance. So if we wanted to go to Saturday and go to cloud cover, you can see it gives us all of the cloud cover for Saturday. And so one more thing that is super helpful is that you can look at the wind speed. So let's say, for example, you were going in the Columbia River Gorge and you were going to shoot beautiful flowers up there. If the wind was 25 miles an hour, you're going to have a very hard time shooting the wind because it's super windy and the flowers are moving. So it's nice to always check the wind depending on if what you want to shoot matters. If you're in like the Utah desert and you're not shooting any trees or anything like that, you're just shooting rocks, it doesn't really matter. But for compositions in the Pacific Northwest, oftentimes it's nice to have no wind. So that's pretty much the Dark Sky app. Unfortunately, you can't get that nice big map overlay that you can on the computer with cloud cover. But it is helpful to have this if you're in a location and you want to see kind of how the conditions look for the next few days. So the next app that I like to use is called Clear Outside. And this is a really, really powerful app. It hasn't been updated in a long time, but the features that it provides you are super powerful. You'll notice that it's not very optimized for the newer iPhones or Android phones, but super helpful with what information it does give you. So you can see when I open the app here, I can actually go to locations. I already have some saved locations, but I could do current location as well, and it will find exactly where I am. But I'm going to go to locations here, and let's go, for example, let's go back to Cascade Locks. And you can let that load for just a second here. And you can see we have all of these numbers here. Now, they're not all important. Just a few of them are what we want to look at. So we were looking at the sunset for Saturday. And you can see it says Saturday up on the top left there. And you can see that on the top bar there, it has sunlight. And so where the sunlight bar goes orange is where sunset is. So it's nice because it tells you exactly when sunset is. So I'm going to look here, and total cloud is important, but we've kind of gathered what other predictors think the total cloud is going to be. What I really like about this app is the low, medium, and high cloud, those 3 lines there. And this is really great because for landscape photography, Sometimes all different kinds of clouds are good, but for like a great sunset, it's really nice to have those high clouds because you're going to have a much higher chance of the sunlight catching the bottom of the clouds than low clouds. So, for example, I'm going to look here, and at sunset, it's supposed to be about 43% medium cloud, 26% low cloud. So now that I look at this, I would probably think that sunset's probably not going to be the best, just because we have mostly medium and low clouds, but it could still be worth it. Low and medium clouds oftentimes will give you a really crazy color for just a few minutes, but those aren't going to be your long burning sunsets, which is what high clouds are going to give you. So you could keep scrolling and look for a time when maybe there'd be more high clouds. You can see Sunday morning. There is a little bit of low, but we've also got a little bit of high clouds, so that could be a potential as well. So that's a really nice feature to have, is the ability to read the high, medium, and low clouds in the Clear Outside app. So the last app that I want to talk about is called Carrot, and it's an app that I just got recently, but I've really been liking the features that it's been offering. So when you open the app, you can see that you've kind of got this screen with your current location. But you can click this button on the top right that looks like a little radar, and you can actually get a weather radar that pops up. And so I'm going to go up here to the Pacific Northwest. They're having a little bit more interesting weather than we are down here in Utah right now. But I can actually zoom in, and this is just going to give you a regular radar. You can see that like the greens and yellows are rain, whereas the pinks are snow. So this is up in the mountain areas. So the nice thing is that you can hit play and it will take a second to load, but it's going to show you kind of the pattern of that rain, where it's moving, and just tons of useful information for you. But more so than that, I'm going to hit pause here. More so than that, you actually have layers on the map. These top 3 layers, I believe, are all free, whereas free after you purchase the app. I believe the app is $4.99 at the making of this video. Whereas like these severe weather down here require a subscription. I think they're totally worth it. I've actually used it to track a couple storms, and I've really liked what it's done. So one of my favorite features here is storm cells. So I just click the box there, then I can click back up here, and then you can see it gives me all of these little arrows, and these arrows tell me which way the storm is moving. So for example, let's say that I wanted to shoot out in the North Cascades right now, and it's 6 p.m. right now, so you can assume that in about 2 hours, this storm right here is going to be moving to the right. So if we were somewhere out there, we could assume that maybe we would get kind of the eye of the storm, and that's usually where the best photos are going to be in storm photography, is right at the eye in the center here where the dot is. And this is telling you exactly which direction it's moving. So that's a super helpful tool. The other thing that's nice, I'll uncheck that and use cloud cover instead. Being able to see the cloud cover is really nice, and I'll usually check off the radar when I look at cloud cover. But you can see here, this shows the cloud cover, and right now it's pretty cloudy. I'm going to go to an area like here in Wyoming. So something to look for is an area where there's a gap in the clouds, because that's going to give the sun a spot to kind of shoot up under the clouds. So somewhere around here in Casper could have a really interesting sunset tonight, because the sunlight could get under just to the west and kind of hit those clouds from the bottom and create some really beautiful light. And so this is a tool that isn't really useful for planning way in advance, but it's super useful when you're out on a trip shooting somewhere and you want to know where to go for sunset. The other thing that's nice is, since it tells you which direction the clouds are in, you would know if you've scouted your composition before. Maybe you would say, well, this composition shoots good to the north and this one shoots good to the south. Which one should I go to for sunset? So using this tool to figure out where it predicts the clouds will be is super, super helpful. And so those are kind of the 2 most useful features here in Carrot, the app. And again, that is called Carrot. And I will put that here right on the video. Now, the last super helpful app that I use is called Windy. And Windy gives you a great radar, and it's called Windy, so you can expect that it'll give you a good forecast of the wind. You'll notice that the first thing that you see when you open it up here is that there's kind of little lines going across, and that shows you the wind by default. Like I said before, sometimes wind's important, sometimes it's not. If it's not, don't worry about it. But if it is for your composition, this shows you which direction the wind is blowing and how strong it is based on the color. You can also slide and get predictions out for multiple days in advance, which is really helpful. And the feature that I really like about this, though, is by clicking on these three little lines here on the bottom right, and you can see you've got more options here. Now, I don't have premium, so I don't have access to all of the layers, but the layers that I do like on the free version are clouds, and if you're shooting at the ocean, waves are nice. It'll show you the swells, and then rain and thunder. So if I click on thunderstorms, I can hit X on the top there. You can see that the color designates how strong the thunderstorm is. There's none in the western United States now. But if I scroll over here, you can see that in the south, there is some thunderstorms, and that's actually Monday. If I go back to Friday right now, you can see that there's some thunderstorms on the north part of Wisconsin. And so this will tell you kind of where the thunderstorms are, and you can also push play to see how it moves and kind of what to expect. So that's helpful if you're trying to predict thunderstorms. And then the clouds are nice. It'll actually show you the low clouds, the cloud base, or the visibility. I like the cloud base. And we're always looking for a high cloud base to get those high clouds. This is pretty similar to what Clear Outside does, but still very helpful. You can see that it's in meters on the bottom, and green is higher clouds, whereas pink is lower clouds. So you can see in kind of the Cascades area, it's probably pretty foggy, pretty low clouds, whereas when you move out into kind of Idaho here, you've got a little bit higher clouds. So that's kind of how I use the Windy app. So that pretty much wraps up the weather apps that I love using. These apps help me predict so many great storms, great photos, and of course, it's just a prediction. So, okay, oftentimes I'll look and think that it looks perfect, go out, and I still won't get good conditions. But I do love using these apps because I feel like they help me increase my probability of getting those great conditions rather than just simply aimlessly going out and hoping to get those good photos. I know time is super valuable, and you can't afford to just go out every single night and hope that you get lucky. So using these apps can really help you to kind of refine your guesses and go out when you have a much better chance of getting those great conditions, as well as a lot of times, a lot of photographers will look at a storm and think that they won't go out because the conditions won't be good. But using some of these apps, you can actually predict a great storm, just great light for photography. And so those are mostly the apps I use. So thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Really hope you learned something new. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.